Welcome to Bytes of Light with Angel and Seth Rohr.
We provide bite-sized nuggets of wisdom to feed your soul, expand your awareness, and free your mind to help you create a more beautiful today and a brighter tomorrow.
Join us in our magical kitchen as we serve up another high-vibe snack for your soul. Welcome to Bytes of Light, snacks for your soul. Oh my goodness, we have lee-mccormick back with us. Hello.
Howdy.
It's so amazing to have another conversation with you. And today we have Seth with us as well.
Yeah, I wasn't able to make it the last time, so glad to be here this time and have this opportunity to chat again.
Yeah, man, it's always good to check in with you guys.
Yeah, we love every chance we get to see you. And last time, I know you guys talked a little bit about how you met in some of your past, and I was going to share that. For me, I met you obviously through Angel. And we went on our first, I guess it was my second Teo trip, but it was my first Teo trip with you. And it was very impactful for me. I mean, I would say that between the two journeys that we've been on with you to Teo and then to Peru, you taught me how to fly. You know, that was a very special gift that I hold very dear. I mean, it's allowed me to reach heights I never knew possible. So whether you realize that or not.
In that Temple of the Condor in Pisac in Peru.
Yeah,
flying through that window.
Yeah, that was the first time that I flew with confirmation. When I came to, I looked up and there was a shape of a bird punched out in the clouds that I had flown through, and it was like, oh wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, interesting things happen, you know.
Yeah. So that was, I mean, I don't even know if we've ever really had a chance to talk about that. There's always so much going on when we're doing those events, but yeah, that learning to let my mind go and to follow where it leads me and fly and experience that to that level is, I attribute very much to your guidance and your showing me how to do that, showing my energy body how to take off while my human body stays planted.
Well, I think it's already innate in us. It's that somebody comes along that reminds us, you know, that guides us back into that space again, and then we just pass it down.
Right. Well, absolutely.
You know, I was same thing with me. I was shown how to do that, and it kind of, I took to it naturally. So
yeah.
Because some people do have that gift, you know, just like everything on this planet, some people can attain different things and other people can. Sometimes it's a natural gift, and sometimes you got to put in the thousands and thousands of hours and you can still get there. But I do believe this was one of your gifts.
Oh, well, I think we all have everything within us.
Right.
And yeah, but
where do you put your attention?
In varying capacities, because we each have unique talents that just come to the front.
Right.
Come to the surface easier. And so, yeah, that's what's so inspiring about this, is seeing people jump and realize that, oh my God, I can actually go there. You know, they've been living in such a self-defined or domesticated space their whole life that they haven't felt that experience of being particles flying through the universe.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, part of it, I think, you know, with that, we're talking about, like, yes, we're all connected. Like Miguel says, you are God. We are God. We are connected. We have all those resources, but it seems like we choose certain soul baskets, certain avatars when we come down here that will allow us to access certain things more readily.
Yeah.
And
well,
then,
there's so much that happens. I mean, it's trying to wrap your head around everything you go through, being initiated back into being human on Earth again. It's so much. I don't know how you put it into one story.
right.
You know, but we get overwhelmed with it, and rightfully so. And we identify by it because that's how we identify by being in this world. And then we take on all those beliefs and, you know, all the whole domestication process that we're familiar with. And it inevitably, it seems that it becomes a spell, more or less. It becomes a limiting factor in how and why we live our lives. And anytime where we get dumbed down, it tends to take on a life of its own. That living smaller than you actually are takes on a life of its own. And it seems like until something happens to crack it, we naturally tend to get smaller and smaller because we're grasping for things outside of ourselves to give us relief or to give us value or to give us an identity. And the more we grasp and the more we reach, the smaller we get. Does that make sense?
It does. In my mind, what I see is the more we try to find something to give us purpose, we put that on ourselves, and it ends up weighing us down more and more. We put more layers. Let's try this blanket and see if it feels good, but we never actually take the old ones off. We just keep piling on, and it just.
Well, the unspoken side of that is that we're not okay just like we are.
Right.
So every time we start chasing another feel good, or we start chasing another means to having value in the world, every time we reinforce that, we are also reinforcing that we're not okay really just as we are.
Absolutely.
So it's a bit of a trap. It's all interesting. It's all interesting.
Yeah, it's a downward spiral until you say no more, right? That's enough. And usually it is, like you said, it's somebody who has said that's it before, that recognizes it and pulls you up by your bootstraps and says, hey, there's another way to go. Try that direction.
Yeah.
Call it a crack open, call it an awakening, whatever verbiage you want to give it. It's usually because somebody that had already done it sees that you're there and you're ready, and they
it's just like sprinkling a little inspiration into the mix.
Yeah.
Or just a touch of inspiration goes a long way.
Well, and creativity. I believe that you're masterful at that. We don't have physical conversations very much, but because we've spent so much time in these places, and when I say so much time, I don't mean like physical linear time, like what we're living in the 3D world. When you're energetically connected, time doesn't exist, right? Like in the construct that we believe in. And sometimes it will be 3 sentences out of a whole thing that you post on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, there's my course correct. Oh, like you are consistently teaching us, even though we're not in physical contact, right? Because we've allowed that space. And once you've found teachers that you can surrender with and know that you're safe, we're open to everything that you have to say. And then we filter through, right?
Yeah, you take
that open and energetic container.
Yeah, we take what fits for us, and
Exactly.
you leave the rest.
Exactly.
That's really an important practice or realization, and it's important to remind people of that. Take what feels correct for you.
Right.
And don't worry about the rest of it. Don't try and figure out the rest of it.
Exactly.
All the threads that inspire you. And that leads us on. We don't need to, because if you get into all the detail of, oh, well, this teacher said all these things, there's 20 pages of teaching here, and I've got to wrap my head around all of it. By the time you do that, you end up giving your power away.
Exactly.
And it's not really inspiring you on a heart and soul level. It becomes a mind game again. It's another mind-oriented practice.
Yeah.
We've done enough of that.
Well, and I was just going to say, to be able to get to that piece of medicine, you had to go through it. I know I certainly did.
Yeah,
right.
We always approach things, you meet people where they're at.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really important one too, as a so-called teacher or a guide or a leader or whatever. It's really important. And I had to remind myself of this all the time, like for all these years, that it's my responsibility to meet people where they're at. I'm not responsible for where they're at, but I'm responsible to meet them there if I want to really connect to them.
Right.
And that connection is where you begin to build the trust and the communication so that you can actually start sharing things and help them move along their path in a direction that resonates with them. Like I want people to tell me that felt real, like you said about flying.
Yeah.
Like that felt so good and it was so interesting or cool. So it's as a teacher, I'm like, okay, cool. Well, then let's work with that.
Right.
Because once you realize that you can start following the leads of the things that inspire you, we'll stop wrestling with all the stuff that's really not important that we're trying to wrap our head around, and we start giving attention and energy and time to developing our talents and our gifts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a daughter that's Bella's 21 and she's going to school at Ole Miss, and she is a natural songwriter. She's an amazing singer, songwriter, and she's had offers to do stuff here in Nashville, but she wants to finish college, and I'll be talking to Belle, and the music is so natural to her. She has no ego about it at all.
Mm.
And so she doesn't really have to work at it. It just comes through her. And she'll be worried about classes and worried about grades and worried about this. And I've got to learn that. I've got to pass this and I got to do that. And I'm watching her, and the whole time she's struggling with all that stuff because that's her journey through life. It's not up to me to interfere in her journey, right?
Yeah.
I listen to all that and I think, girl, the minute you get out of school, you're going to have such a badass whole situation going on so quick that none of this is going to matter. But we have to learn how to navigate the struggle.
Exactly.
It's so funny because we're observing the same thing with my daughter. She was off at school and everything was just such a struggle. How do I, working and school and personal life, and she recently had a big aha that she's like, I don't even want this. I don't even know why I'm doing this. And when we get done here, I'm driving 1,200 miles to pick her up and bring her home.
Like literally the second after this podcast.
Oh, really? Well, that's so cool because how many people do you know that at 30 or 35 or 45 or 55 woke up one day and said, what the hell am I doing? Whose life is this? I don't want to do this anymore.
Absolutely. I know that's what I'm like. That's where really the midlife crisis comes in. And it's like, she's getting that shit out of the way so
At
early.
19, yeah.
She's 19 years old and going, man, I've been walking down a path that doesn't serve me. Like to be able to have those realizations at 19 is life-changing.
Imagine all that you could accomplish.
What is ringing? Hang on a second, Lee. Oh, speaking of Sammy, that was literally Sammy.
There you go.
Well, maybe we'll edit that out. Maybe we won't. Sometimes you talk about them
the spider senses, and I'm watching a spider walk across the top of my screen.
Yeah.
See, there he is.
We have a little spider medicine joining us on our podcast today.
He's very thick and furry.
He's actually.
Well, my grandson yesterday revealed to the world he's like 5. And he let the world know that he's Spider-Man. He went and put a Spider-Man costume on at a gymnastics company. So he came running in and he said, I'm Spider-Man. I was like, well, we've been looking for you.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So, we can all use a superhero every once in a while too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's been amazing watching her and being able to hold and share some of the medicine that we've learned from our teachers for her. And now we're literally watching her take her power back, step into, okay, what is the next step? And I'm okay being in the void right now. And I'm just so proud of her and watching her. So we're having similar experiences with the kids right now.
But what I said about Belle, it was so important that my daughter, it's so important that we allow our children to find their own way in navigating the world.
Yes.
And a lot of parents don't do that. Parenting is so screwed up in general, but we either we have a vision in our mind of who we think our children should be, which is absolutely none of our damn business. It's their business. Or we're trying to save them or keep everything comfortable and, like babysit them when they're in their late teens and 20s. And it's so important that they learn their way of navigating through all the stuff.
Right.
You can
Parenting is
support them in how they sort out the navigating, which is what you're talking about. That's
right.
the important thing. But trying to rescue or interfere with it, it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes away from their experience. Parenting's like the real first lesson in guiding others on their journey in life.
Yeah.
If you can learn to let your kids walk through the lessons, then you can let other people do it without interfering. And you can be an effective guide and not somebody who's trying to write other people's stories.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
that's,
We all have
it can
our
be
own
challenging.
learning styles. We all
Yeah.
have our own learning style.
Mhm.
So, well, what
Yeah,
else?
they are our greatest teachers, our kids. I certainly have lived lifetimes of good parenting and bad parenting in my own world. And that was actually part of the reason why I ended up in the Toltec tradition and started my whole path, because my daughter went, no,
Yeah.
and so it's amazing now to kind of have a do-over with Samantha and to be able to have a very powerful, willful, beautiful female energy in the house to guide and direct and love and just hold space for. I'm so grateful for my do-over.
And
Yeah.
that while holding the door open for other relationships to return, to
Exactly.
come back in, right? Old relationships to be redefined.
Yeah,
So
Well, that's living to practice.
exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
Once we practice it long enough, we actually begin to embody it.
Right.
And then we remember things and we see ourselves, and we're like, oh my God, I'm doing that again.
Mhm.
And so we check ourselves, and then we shift our attention, or we shift our response and the way that we interact. And that's literally how we change relationships. It's how we grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had that big dose of it this last year, because it's been a year now since the cancer thing started. And it completely changed my entire reality.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It completely changed it. So, and I realized things still that have shifted over the last year, that in the moment, I'm not realizing that it shifted because I'm so in that moment,
Right. It
Um,
becomes your new normal.
yeah, it does. Well, for a while, it's a new limbo,
Right.
because nothing is actually normal. Nothing is
Right.
familiar enough to call it normal. It's
Mm.
literally one day at a time.
Yes.
But it's, it reframes things. I don't have it's hard to articulate it, but in the simplest, it has simplified every relationship in my life to such a degree that there's no more worrying about anything. You just live in the moment with what's going on, and you make your choices. And you really I had to break my pattern of expectations, because I never knew from one day or 1 minute to the next how I was going to feel or what I was going to want to do.
Yeah.
So it's, life keeps giving us these landscapes and learning how to navigate it. I had to learn how to navigate from a whole new relationship with being in a body and being myself and walking around with the angel of death.
Yeah.
So you learn how to navigate it.
Yeah.
And some things serve you in that, and some don't. I was never in fear with this. And that was very perplexing to me. I kept waiting to be afraid.
Right.
And fear just never showed up.
Yeah.
Sadness showed up, but fear never showed up. And I was like, okay, well, one of these days I'm going to wake up and be scared. Right. Well, it just never happened.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it'll happen tomorrow, but you never know. We're really bizarre little beings.
Yeah.
We're never going to figure ourselves out completely while we're here, but we can absolutely learn how to love being here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the greatest joy for me came when I quit trying.
Yeah.
Even when I'm practicing healing work and helping guide people, I'm like, I don't try to understand it, because as soon as I try to understand it, I screw it all up. So
The minute you go into thinking about it, it breaks the flow.
Exactly. So I don't even know what I've done half the time. I just know that something happened and it's cool. And and I see the effects of that afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's just fun. Like you say, it's just fun to flow with it and see what happens and observe those moments for what they are without the expectation.
Yeah, just living it. Well, just remember our journey in Peru. There's like I've never, and I got this from Miguel way back there 25 years ago from Miguel Ruiz, because they would never put out an itinerary of where you were going.
Right.
Because they wanted to break that need to know of the mind. And then because the minute you think you're going to start having expectations.
Yeah.
Okay. And so on the journeys, like in Peru, where we were going to go that day, we knew, we had an idea of where we were going to go, but things changed all the time.
Right.
And some people get really upset because, well, I thought we were going here today. And I said, you wouldn't know when you were there if I didn't tell you were there. You've never been there before.
Right.
What
difference does it make?
Of, like, you don't know if you're in Iowa or Wisconsin.
Right.
What difference does it make?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the fear, right?
Yeah, it is. Well, it's that feeling like we're safe if we can tell ourselves we're in control.
Right.
Yeah.
Or we know what's getting ready to happen.
Don't expose my lie. It's comfortable for me.
That's another thing about this, dealing with cancer is you never know what's going to come next.
No.
Yeah.
You never know what the next scan's going to say or whatever. And so you just enjoy the ride, man.
It is a deeper level of surrender.
Well, it takes people moments like cancer, most people, to have that shaken out of the denial that they've been living in, right? Because the reality is none of us know.
No, we don't.
We never, I mean, I work this for a living, but people's lives end suddenly all the time. So you can either walk around afraid about it, or you can ignore it and pretend like it doesn't exist, or you can just, like you said, develop that relationship with the angel of death, acknowledge that we will die, and quit letting that determine which direction you take in life.
Right. Well, I'm sure it's like running into a burning building. You don't run in there with a story about what it's going to look like and how it's going to go when you get in that building. You got to live in that moment.
Right. Yeah. You're just flowing.
Firefighters talk about the fire is like a being.
It is.
It has a mind of its own, literally. Like there's a consciousness to the way fire moves through things.
Yeah. Yeah. It has a method and a madness, and if you don't observe it and
respect
connect
it.
and connect with it and respect it, it gets you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the journey.
Right.
So far, we're doing pretty well ourselves, right?
Feels like it.
Yeah.
So going to you've been to Teo several times this past year while you were on your cancer journey. Was that different compared to before, or what did you feel had shifted last year? And also your wife's been joining you.
Yeah, she has been. So that was a shift in itself.
Right.
Well, I went in August with Rita Rivera and Ed Fox and Mimi, and we went back in December. For me, it was like I didn't have endless energy.
Right.
So I'd get up in the morning, I would feel good in the mornings, and then we would do our thing. We'd go over into Teo and we'd come back. Well, I would end up taking a nap in the afternoon and mellowing out, which was fine. I'm just taking care of myself, right? And but what was interesting is the whole frequency of Teo, how much it's shifted. It's a completely different relationship. I'm developing a new relationship with the consciousness of that place now. Like I've known it, been with it for so many years. And Rita and I had a big conversation about this because she's been going down there for 30 something years, and she was struggling with how the underpinning of everything had changed. And she was, the last journey on the way from the airport out to Teotihuacán, I got this feeling that we needed to completely abandon teaching as we have known teaching. And we needed to guide people and support them and hold in space and allowing their own answers, their own realizations to come forward as you move through the journey, as opposed to teaching them what this place is or that place is. Give them a little snippet of information, but allow them to have their own experience and see, let the ones that are capable go there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
and the ones that aren't capable, support them and how they might come into a resonance to be able to hear and feel and see what's being offered to them through the energy of the place, through the energy of the temples and stuff. And at the end of the journey, Rita and I had a big conversation because it was really challenging. I'd already broken the mold for myself as far as what teaching looks like, but Rita hadn't broken the mold yet. And she was struggling with guiding people and, you know, getting in there and doing a process with them. I said, we're not doing any processes. No freaking processing.
Right.
Let's just be in this moment. You know, let's let this living moment guide us and inspire us and show us. I do not want to go back and indulge in the past anymore.
Yeah.
But it was really cool because we're all subject to the same attachment to patterns and the familiar and expectations and the roles plays. Because as teachers, inevitably you're going to catch yourself playing a role as a teacher that you've made up that's not really what you're doing, but we get so invested in it. Our ego gets invested in it, our pride gets
it needs to look this way, and you need to show up in a certain way, and the whole program is done a certain way. I know I definitely fell into that trap as well. And this last year going to Teo and not having that, it was amazing. So I'm really excited to hear that you were experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, I think a number of people have. The ones that live a relationship with Teo rather than living a relationship with the teaching.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people that their basis of relationship is the teaching.
Right.
It's not with the spontaneous nature of the energy of Teo.
Right.
And it's to find someone that actually lives that in the moment living relationship with the energy of Teo is an entirely different experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the last time we talked, I actually wrote something down. You'd said you were talking about this same subject, and we were discussing the flip, thinking that it was a masculine place and the divine feminine has always been there. Yeah. And one of the quotes that you had said was that the feminine is now bestowing the power to the males, and the males did not
that has always been the case.
Right. And you had said the males did not have the ability to summon the power that the feminine is the master of.
Yeah.
And we witnessed that and have experienced that. And I don't know if I'm sure you went under Quetzalcoatl, right? Yeah. What a powerful, powerful experience.
Yeah, that's a whole other something. I would have to be able to.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, I'd have to telepathically be able to show you what I experienced down there. But yeah, and again, see, even that statement that it's the feminine that bestows what we call power to the male, that brings up all kind of images and domestication and you know, it's the energetic of what we identify as feminine.
Exactly.
Right. It's not worldly feminine. It's not female human feminine. It's an energetic. It's not a form. Right. Yeah. And our nature, because we live in form here, is to identify and re-identify through form all the time. And the minute we go to the form, we move away from the relationship directly with the energy. You know, people identify Jesus on the cross. Well, that's not the Christ energy. Right. That was a human being on a cross. Did it happen? Did it not happen? I don't know. But it's the image that represents the faith of a lot of people, when the truth is the real relationship is with an energetic that's not embodied in form and never has been.
Right.
Form is a limitation. So the
Yeah.
feminine, that feminine energy and the way it informs us, what was so compelling to me this last time was realizing, we were told, but then I really got it, that all of these energies emerge into this realm, this what we call world. Those energies emerge into this world through the embodiment of the feminine. And so where does it come from? Well, we can talk about black light. We can talk about it comes of the Nawal and comes through the embodiment, the energy of the feminine, and then it's born into form of the tonal, if you're using Toltec language. So the realm of form is the tonal, the realm of spirit and the unknown, the mystery is the Nawal. And the real gift in it is developing the ability to realize when you're attaching to forms and concepts and to shift away from that. It's a feeling, it's a felt sense to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not identify it by what it looks like. It is literally a felt sense. And I think that's what all of us humans have really moved far away from, because our feelings have been so indulgent in emotion for so long.
That's why I really love the concept and the writings of the Bytes of Light book. We really go into like you just summed it up beautifully about housing the two energies within your soul basket, because men also house the feminine energy, right? Like it's
Sure.
and so I love that little recap, and we dive pretty deep into our book.
Yeah. Well, you could talk about it forever, and it's never what you're saying.
Right.
That's the funny thing. We deem people to be experts on this and that, but what they're talking about is not the thing they're even talking about. The thing you're talking about is something else entirely.
Yeah. And then, in Miguel's words, once you actually bring it into words form, it's no longer the truth anymore anyways, because we're trying to translate the energy that we're experiencing.
Yeah. Well, we do the best we can with
Exactly.
the way language works.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I love how many translations are coming out, and, the veil is getting thinner, and we are starting to feel more energy. And those of us who are committed to this path and doing the work, new language is going to come through our experiences, because we are pushing forward. And it does take a lot of courage to do this work. And, that's a lot of the language that Seth is using as he's going into the fire department with these teachings, is that bravery and courage piece. This is not easy work.
Yeah.
No, and you have to, I used to say to the guys that work for me on the ranch is, you got to be smarter than the cow, right? If you're going to be a cowboy, you got to be smarter than the cow, or you're never going to get much done.
Right.
Well, you got to be smarter than the lingo. That's why changing the lingo so it doesn't trigger reactions from people is so important. A master doesn't care what frames of reference he uses, as long as it's conveying the message.
Yeah.
So that's really important. There's so many things to remind ourselves of all the time that's just a great value.
Yeah.
Well, we certainly appreciate your language and your commitment to your path, because it's very inspiring for us. And it has just been so amazing being part of your journey and witnessing and holding for you and allowing you to hold for us. And that's that reciprocity. And we love you very much.
Yes.
Well, it's mutual. It is totally mutual. And I'm going back to Peru the end of July.
Ooh.
So that's on the spiritrecovery.com website.
Yeah.
And I
Awesome.
think I'm going to go to Teo the 1st of May. I'm trying to get Rita to come back. Ed's all on board, but I've got dates for May to go back to Teo, because I want to continue to pursue,
of course,
this new experience there.
Yeah. Well, we will drop those links in the show notes, and at least show people where they can find you. And we highly recommend journeying with Lee.
Absolutely.
It has changed our life for sure.
Yeah. If it's intriguing your mind, what he's saying and this idea, and you're like, oh, that sounds really cool, then then do it.
That's your hit.
Chances are Lee's the person for you to go to Teo with.
And take that action step.
Or Peru, whichever one jumps out at you. They're both life-changing experiences if you are ready to let go and allow them to be.
Exactly.
I'm so ready to be back in Peru.
Oh yeah.
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 Right? It's just beauty surrounds you there all the time.
I know.
It is pretty incredible. We're looking forward to going back as well. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is always our pleasure to have wonderful conversations with you.
Well, I totally enjoy it, and thank you guys, and have a good time.
We will. You too.
Oh, rocking. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All our love.
Thank you for sharing your time and energy with us. The best way to help us spread this message is to rate, review, and subscribe.
If this episode impacted you in any way, share it with others. Post about it on social media or put something in the comments.
Also, check out our website for upcoming events and books at www.roarrevolution.com. All our gratitude and love.
All our love.
See you soon.